If you consider turkey as an animal, then Sandeep Reddy Vanga's new film is very accurately named because it is the cinematic equivalent of an overstuffed turkey. The 3 hours and 21 minutes runtime might feel like something groundbreaking and Vanga being Vanga, but when you actually watch the film, you would realize it's just Vanga being overconfident. Now, if you think I'm some woke idiot who's just against Vanga and everything that he does, go check out my channel. I have been constantly rooting for this film. I have been constantly defending Sandeep Reddy Vanga. So I am actually a fan, but I did not like this fucking film. There are so many moments in this film that just feel so unnecessary in the story, but they only exist so that Vanga could get under the skin of certain people. If you feel like the trailer did not give away too much of the plot, well, that's because there isn't much of a plot to be revealed, and the things that are being held back are absolutely dumb as fuck. Before I go on to annihilate this film further, let me just talk about a few things that I actually loved and enjoyed in this film. First is Ranbir Kapoor's performance. Ranbir Kapoor completely surrenders to the vision of Sandeep Reddy Vanga, and Vanga is able to extract a very strong performance from him. The first half, everything from the progression of stories to the character motivations to the screenplay to the action, in fact, were quite engaging and interesting in the first half of the film. The film does get you invested from the get go. There are two scenes that I absolutely loved. One is when he brings a gun to the school, which is actually quite thrilling, and the second one being his confrontation with his brother in law, which was very well acted and, in fact, quite nicely written. Rashmika Mandana, surprisingly, the most trolled aspect of the entire marketing campaign of Animal, turns out to be the only sane character in the entire film, the only character that you sympathize with, and the only character that you want to get out of this madness. After an exhilarating interval block, the second half of the film is a sharp drop in screenplay, in writing, in direction, and in overall focus of the film. Throughout the film, despite the odd characteristics of the character, I was actually supporting the character because his redeeming quality was he's actually very, very loyal to his wife. But when his affair with Tripti Dimri's character starts, the film goes dog shit. And the worst part is the twist that comes later is that the whole affair with Tripti Dimri is Ranbir Kapoor's plan, because Ranbir Kapoor is so fucking smart that he knows that she's a mole sent to his house by Bobby Deol. And that entire scene, that entire arc makes no fucking sense. It's established in the film that Bobby Deol doesn't really know Ranbir Kapoor's character that much. So him just assuming that he will see Tripti Dimri and will immediately cheat on his wife with her, well, that's far fetched, I would say. But that's exactly what ends up happening. But like I said, it's all part of Ranbir Kapoor's plan. What a fuck all piece of shit. I was literally thinking if I'm watching a Sandeep Reddy Vanga film or an Ekta Kapoor daily soap. And it makes me wonder if Ranbir Kapoor's character is so fucking smart that he figured out that Tripti Dimri is a mole from the get go. Why did he indulge with her at all? Just she was leaving his fucking house. Why did you just stop her and send her to your grandfather's house? And God fucking shit. And in the entire film, Ranbir Kapoor's character resolves to violence to solve every issue. Your father gets shot, let's bring out the guns. Your sister gets harassed in college, let's bring out the guns. Your wife says something bad about your father, let's bring out the shotgun. But the girl who is directly associated with the guy who directly ordered the hit on your father, well, she deserves your gun, right? It's so inconsistent. The character is so fucking inconsistent. I didn't even understand. Again, like I said, it just feels like the entire thing existed. So the next scene in which Rashmika Mandana fights with him, so that in the next scene when he tells her that you cannot cheat on me, you cannot divorce me, I will not let you go, my kids will not grow up in a broken home, can exist so that people can get triggered by it. Because honestly, it's a very toxic fuck all and triggering scene because it makes no fucking sense in the story. You don't want your kids to grow up in a broken home, bitch. You just shot a shotgun right next to your wife's ear. Again, in the entire film, you have resolved to gun violence. for everything. Why did you have to fuck that new girl? You could have just, pointed a gun at her and asked her to reveal everything. Because, you knew from the start that she was not the right person. It's deja vu all over again. I'm again reviewing a Ranbir Kapoor film with a lot of F bombs in the review. Mr. Vanga, triggering people at the cost of your film's storytelling is not a great move. Sandeep Reddy could have easily replaced that entire sequence with Bobby Deol's backstory, but no, we get this clusterfuck. And that's the point where the story truly derailed for me. I have my own morals and preferences about relationships, and honestly, I cannot side with a guy who cheats on his wife and doesn't even regret it. He tries to justify it and he tries to gaslight his wife into thinking that she's being awful. And the worst thing about all of this is, at the end of all of it, after literally having a shotgun being shot right next to your face, they make out and Satranga plays in the background. Again, just so that people can get triggered. And it is triggering. It's not redeeming. See, if you bring up Kabir Singh, let's talk about the opening scene of Kabir Singh. He shows the knife to a girl and asks her to undress. But 2 seconds later, Kabir himself is disgusted by his own actions. By the end of that film, he's disgusted by himself. So it's easier for me to side with that character because he knows his own shortcomings and he knows that he's a disgusting person. But this character, played by Ranbir Kapoor, he doesn't know that he's disgusting. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He doesn't think that he's a disgusting person, and his wife doesn't leave him. Bro, just have the wife leave him so that we can establish that for this character, his father and the urge to avenge or to destroy his father's enemies is much bigger than his own wife and children. In that way, we can have a sense of consequences in the film. Not only does he cheat on his wife, he then tells her that he will not divorce her because of the kids and all the reasons I just told you about. And again, it makes no sense. It's just so fucking inconsistent. This character doesn't have any morals. Like I said, the film loses focus in the second half. Like he's critically wounded for a majority part of the second half, and then all of a sudden he's fit and fine right after the heart transplant. He killed her sister's husband, and we never see how their relationship evolved after that point. We never see her at Diwali or anything. So the film picks up a lot of things, but it just drops everything and goes on to this Tripti Dimri tangent for some reason. He does so much killing for his father. He almost dies himself. But by the end of it, we find out that, oh, his father is dying anyway. His father would be dead in 6 months anyway due to blood cancer. What's the point of all of it? Exactly. What's the point of all of it? Anil Kapoor's character not accepting his son is one thing, but him just dying already just nullifies everything that we have seen in the film. I'm not a sucker for happy endings. Like if the ending had been like he killed everyone and he avenged his father's assassination attempt, and at the end his father was like, Fuck it, man, I don't care, I don't like you, get out of my house," I would have been okay with the film because okay, his father has his own set of morals. But no, it just gets very convoluted by the end of it. The film is tonally quite off as well. Like Ranbir Kapoor and Bobby Deol are fighting on a runway. B Prague is playing in the background, and the fight is just like any other 70s film fight. Then all of a sudden, one guy says, "मेरा भाई बोल नहीं सकता." Then one guy from Ranbir Kapoor's side says, "मेरा भाई सुन नहीं सकता." What the fuck is this tone? Like, is it supposed to be an emotional fight because it's between family? Is it supposed to be a great intense fight, or is it supposed to be a fucking comedy? The marketing and the trailer and the teaser of this film made it seem like some very intense and dark thriller, gangster thriller. But the action in this film is actually funny. I did not mind it in the interval block because it was really fun to watch at that time. Again, the tone of that scene was quite off as well. But once I accepted that, okay, now this film has transitioned from a grounded gangster thriller to an over the top action masala film. And the music is not playing in the background, but the Marathi song is in his headphone, and the Arjun Veli song is actually being sung by his team in real time in the film. So I totally side with that. I actually enjoyed that scene once I understood what the film was trying to be. But that does not nullify the fact that the film is tonally fucking off. The second half of this film really bored me and made me not side with the character that I'm watching. And honestly, this film feels like more of Sandeep Reddy Vanga's arrogance than his creativity. People keep talking about the post credit madness. Well, I cannot have a comment on violence in films because I feel like I'm pretty desensitized to it, and I did not really feel anything in the post credit scene of the film. But just because Ranbir Kapoor, not the character he's playing in the film, but some different person who also looks like Ranbir Kapoor is covered in blood, that does not mean that it's madness, because in the context of the story, it makes no fucking sense. Just because he's drenched in blood doesn't mean it's madness. It's not the guy we have been following throughout the film. It would have been cool to watch that guy being drenched in blood like that, but not the post credit Aziz character. A sequel called Animal Park was announced, which is a fuck all title, and I don't think this movie needs a sequel. It's a pretty below average standalone film. This doesn't need a sequel. I don't this just doesn't need a sequel. There is an entire scene dedicated to Ranbir Kapoor talking about his pubes, his rash, his underwear, and then there is the whole Tripti Dimri cheating arc. So making a 3 hour and 21-minute film might make Sandeep Reddy Vanga feel like he has become the Indian Martin Scorsese. But when your audience watches your film and thinks that okay, this scene could have been cut off from this film, it's not an achievement. It's arrogance. It just feels like you put everything into this film just because you could, just because there were no restrictions on you, which is a bad thing because again that does derail your story, that does make the tone of your film quite off, and honestly it just feels like the film would have been just the same if this scene was not there. One of the big mistakes that this film did was showing us an older Ranbir Kapoor in 2056 telling a story to his fellows right at the beginning of the film. That diminishes any kind of stakes that the story could have had. We know that he's going to survive this film. We know that he's going to survive the next film because he's there in 2056 telling a fucking story. Now, I get it. I get it that the entire point of that scene was so that people could stay till the end and an older Ranbir Kapoor would come back and be like, and followed by the frame writer, editor, director Sandeep Reddy Vanga. But after watching the film, it honestly feels like this was done to the audience by Sandeep Reddy Vanga.